household wealth drops, ready? $13.5 trillion from January to September. Second worst destruction on record. This is a Market Watch story, page 8. American household lost about $6.8 trillion in wealth in the first 3 quarters of 2022. The stock market shed more than 25% of its value. The Federal Reserve reported Friday nominal net worth fell 4.6% to $143 trillion as the market value of assets fell by $6 trillion and liabilities rose by $900 billion. Household balance sheet assets minus liabilities were popped up by 10% increase in home equity, which is the greatest source of wealth for most American families. But the loss in real wealth from January through September was about twice as large as the nominal loss, $13.5 trillion in current dollars after accounting for rapid inflation experienced this year. Inflation makes both debts and liabilities worth less in terms of purchasing power. Notice what it says here, that most people's wealth is tied to what? Home equity, right? Mm-hmm. Home equity. That's going to disappear in 2023 for a lot of people. Let me say that one more time. That's going to disappear for a lot of people in 2023, that equity. I know people don't want to talk about it. Here's the thing. If you're living in a house and like, what do I do? $300,000, I have equity in the house. Do I sell it? Do I not sell it? Are you planning on living in this place for 10 years? Yes. Don't worry about it. Don't worry. It's meaningless. It's pointless. Oh, okay. Got it. Hey, what do I do? I got $300,000 in equity. How long are you planning on living in this house? Probably another year and a half max. Okay. Worry about it. Okay. Because you got to figure out a way to do something with that part there. So it depends on what situation you're in. We were looking at the rates of a house because my guy flew in, Goldman Sachs again. We're sitting there having a conversation. We do our quarterly meeting. And he was telling me, you know what we locked in your rates at? And he's showing, he says, you know what it would have been today? Meaning people that are buying today, the rate, the difference in payment is not a small, it's astronomically different in payment. Is what you're saying. You know, a guy was paying $6,000 a month. This could be same thing. Could be a $12,000 payment for same exact value of a loan. By the way, so you cannot tell me, oh, home's going to keep the values. They're not. 2023 is going to be rough for a lot of realtors and loan officers, and I don't think it's going to slow down. So Pat, 2024 will be the first year of relief for them.
So what you're saying is basically, I bought a house for $400,000, right? Yeah. I made upgrades. I did whatever. Yeah. It's worth $500,000 now. Now, because what you guys are saying is now the value of houses is dropping. So you got to get rid of this.
Oh, only because rates are skyrocketing. Mm-hmm. So people remember rule of thumb. We've talked about this many times. Rule of thumb. People don't buy a house based on the loan amount or the interest rate. People buy a house based on the payment. Mm-hmm. No one goes to the bank and says, give me a $600,000 loan. They go and say, I can afford $5,000 a month. What size loan does that qualify for? Gotcha. No one goes and says, I want $1 million loan. They solve for payment. So the payment just doubled, give or take. So the average person's like, hey, I can afford a $8,000 payment, $6,000 payment. So, okay, good luck. You went from an $800,000 home to now a $600,000 home. What are you talking about? I can't get nothing for $600,000. Totally get it, but that's what just happened. But reality is going to sink in 2023.
Yeah, there's something else below the surface here to step on. This is that Americans, we already talked about over the past month. We've talked a couple times about how Americans' credit card balances, Pat, are right back up. Remember, they went down when all that money came from the government, and now they've popped right back up. Well, why have they been popping up? Because inflation. They've been using credit cards for things, and it shows here in all the discussion about the $13.5 trillion in wealth from houses and stuff. There was $900 billion in real liabilities by the U.S. consumer. That is on credit cards. They don't have short-term loans. They don't have signature loans. It's a few people have home equity loans, but the majority of the rank and file of America is $900 billion. And interest rates are going up, so they're paying more interest on that. So the talk about the real recession next year isn't just because, the narrative's off the election, the midterm election, so it's safe to talk about it. It's that this is what's coming. Americans now have as much or more debt as they had before COVID. as much or more before all of the bailouts. Point one, interest rates are higher. So what they're paying, the interest on that is higher. Inflation has made basic goods and services, gasoline down, I said it, yes, it's a good thing, but everything else is still up and still growing. So I can't afford my life. I'm more in debt and interest rates are up and we're paying. So the spending is going to go down. Consumer spending is going to be dropping, and that's what's going to drop us into recession. When the engine of the economy, the consumer, can't afford to buy things because they're more in debt, the interest rates on the debt is up. You see how that all comes together? It's a simple little puzzle, and that's where it's going. The other interesting thing is right now, before COVID, the average inventory of vehicles on lots was around 3 million cars in any given week would be available on lots.
Total.
Yeah. Any given week to be about 3 million finished cars available for sale. Right now, there's about 1 million cars available for sale, which is up significantly. Because remember, in the middle of COVID, we all learned that when chips are expensive or you can't get chips, you could build the whole car, but then you needed like the 5 chips that go into the dashboard system, and they had to wait for those. Well, now some of that supply has come back. There's 1 million cars available out there, but we're still almost at an all-time high, and the car loans are now up at 8%. So guess what? The 1 million cars are sitting there. Consumers have a lot of debt. They can't afford to do it. So all of these things are going to represent what the real recession is coming. And I believe the numbers that we're seeing on job losses, that there's about 2 million jobs are going to be lost by mid-year.
2 million jobs are going to be lost by mid-year.
So that's you're saying real recession, because right now this is like the kind of recession. But we're going for you're talking about like Armageddon.
I'm saying,
not Armageddon.
Would you bet?
Not Armageddon.
No. Would you bet on the consumer the next 6 months pumping up the spending to help the economy?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
They can't.
So with all the craziness taking place, I believe future looks bright. If you believe future looks bright, get your latest Future Looks Bright hat of Valuetainment. It says Future Looks Bright here, Future Looks Bright here. We got them in white, we got them in black, we got them in red. Our black on black sold out. These are about to sell out. If you haven't ordered one yet, we had a person in Michigan, bought one, then he bought 3. Then when those 3 people weren't in the office, they had to order 58 of them because people wanted the Future Looks Bright hat, especially during times like this, because ain't nobody saying Future Looks Bright. To order your Future Looks Bright hat, click over here. And to watch the entire podcast, click here. Take care, everybody.